Building Better Businesses with Catalyst Consulting is brought to you in partnership with Speak Studios and Speak Spokane, presented by Delicious Hamburgers. Welcome to Building Better Businesses. I'm Kristen Dees, founder of Catalyst Consulting, an agency that helps small businesses and entrepreneurs start, grow, and level up their businesses. This podcast will bring you interviews with experts in all things business related. Have questions for a business attorney? We've got answers. How about your health insurance? Got you covered there too. New episodes coming your way every week. Find us on the podcasting platform of your choice. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Building Better Businesses with Catalyst Consulting. My guest today is Lizzie Stewart, a financial planner.
I'm a financial representative, Kristen.
Representative.
Yeah.
So close. Okay. That question comes up later. Don't worry, guys. I always get confused. So Lizzie and I met through Polka Dot Powerhouse, which is a relationship/networking group for women, which has been really awesome. There's been quite a few guests on here so far from Polka Dot, actually. So, we became best friends immediately. We're basically soul sisters. We're the same age. We're kind of on the same journey. We've had very parallel paths. It's been fun, and we're kind of going through some of the same stuff together at the same time. So it's always a blasty blast. And if you ever want to feel good about yourself, you talk to Lizzie Stewart.
Oh.
So I know, right?
Okay, well, we can just be done now. Thank you.
No, yep, boom, done.
Yeah, you want to feel good? Call Lizzie. Okay.
Yes, thanks. I'm so glad I came. Yep. Perfect. So tell us a little bit about you as a human being. Who is Lizzie?
Yeah, so Lizzie, born and raised in the Midwest, spent a little bit of time out on the West Coast getting my culinary arts gig on, and just exploring the beautiful Northwest, and then came back. I now live in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Absolutely love like the sprawling prairies and the fact I can go fishing or the spa just very simply in one day. I could do both of those things. I like to get dirty, and I like to go and just lay around and be as bougie as absolutely possible and live the most fabulous life. So right now my practice, I have a financial practice here in Sioux Falls, but I help people really all over the country as a financial representative, which we will get into a little bit more because there's definitely a lot of different titles and things like that. But I'm a financial representative, and I'm also a prosperity coach. So I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit more too, but really just helping individuals be able to be inspired is really my purpose and passion in life, is to help people to dream and then figure out how they get there. So I call that balancing the woo and do of prosperity. Really digging into that soul and then putting together some tactical strategies to get you to your best life, the most optimal place you'd like to be.
I love it.
Yeah.
You're helping me with that too. It's very nice.
I am, darling, and I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, and I have a puppy. Her name is Delta Dawn. Yes, like the Tanya Tucker song.
It's good. That actually always makes me think of the Friends episode when, you know the one, where Courtney Cox, Monica, is singing karaoke and her shirt is see-through and she doesn't know that's the song that she's singing. So, and it's terrible, but it's just hysterical. It's that song always makes me think of Friends, and I'm so sorry to Tanya Tucker. I can't be the only one.
That is my dog.
That's great. I love it. It's a good name. It's a bold name to live up to.
Delta Dawn. We call her Deli a lot, which is another favorite restaurant of mine. It's just a deli, Come on, that was funny.
Yeah. Good. Well, there's like the name of your pet, and then what you actually call them are different sometimes. Mm-hmm. So share a fun fact about you. What's something that maybe not everybody knows about you?
Oh, there's so many fun facts. Well, can I do a smart fact and a fun fact?
Sure. You can do whatever you want, boo.
Oh my God. So fun fact, BFF, is I have 3 core values that help me to run my life. So a little bit more about Lizzie, I guess. So the 3 core things that are important to me that help me to develop my relationships, build great relationships, and get to where I want to go is authenticity, connection, and joy. Those 3 things help me just kind of stay on track and live my best purpose-driven life. But a fun fact, there's so freaking many. I really have had a really fun life, but I'm going to go with this one. My first job ever in my whole life, I was a mushroom farmer. And that was like back in middle school. And there was this guy who developed this really unique way to cultivate shiitake mushrooms in his barn on the back 40. And he got a bunch of us middle school kids to ride the bus out after school, and we plugged spores and grew shiitake mushrooms.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I actually picked blueberries.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I love it.
Yeah.
Did you have blue fingernails forever?
Yeah, I think that was my first, and it was the same kind of thing. Like, it was a blueberry farm up the road, and so we could just go, and then we would get paid by the bucket, like however many we picked.
Yep.
So I couldn't eat all of them, because I'm like, I want to get paid for some of this.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's too funny.
Yeah.
Very cool. So what do you do the work side of things? Like, how do you provide support for business owners and entrepreneurs?
Yeah. So in the world of financial advisories and financial practices, I think that a lot of times advisors and agencies get into kind of a niche. And right now in my career and in my practice, we really are focused on helping the entrepreneurial side and the business owners. So for me, it's getting people to understand on a financial level that your personal and your business lives really are the same, right? Especially when we are entrepreneurs. And in the first few years, we're still kind of trying to navigate, and we still naturally have them separate. But as we start planning for your future, my goal is to bring those two things together to make sure that everything is in harmony and in balance, and that we're reaching those goals instead of keeping personal and business separate. So really, I mean, tactical wise, it's getting to know someone, right? Like building that relationship first. That's kind of my superpower, is just getting to the guts of what it is that you're looking for, and pulling that out. So for a business owner, getting us not just talking about, quarterly taxes maybe that we're paying, or leveraging some accounts in the market. It's really about, what do you want to do in 5 years with your business? Are you looking at building your team? Are you looking to sell this business down the road? Is that what our goal is? Or are we going to move into more of a board of directors role, and over here we're going to manage our foundation? So sometimes when I sit down with entrepreneurs, what's really fun is that isn't necessarily where they've started in terms of planning for their futures. A lot of times when we get into being entrepreneurs, we're like all focused on how are we going to build their money? How are we going to do today, right? Boots on the ground today. But we don't say, okay, why do I want to have this business? What do I want the end result to be? Is it going to be building up a business to sell it? Or is it going to be maybe a legacy piece? Maybe we're leaving our business to a child or a close comrade that's worked with you. So we really start with that end in mind and start building up that journey and that pathway to get to where that is going to be the most lucrative place.
Mm-hmm. Well, and for me, one of the things that was important in the search for a financial planner, representative, whatever, someone to help me with my financial plan for the future is the relationship piece of it. Like, I've met with, I can't even tell you how many people. And it's just like a lot of sales focused industries where, it's about the hustle and like they got to sell and, tell you all this stuff. I'm like, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in building a relationship with a person who's going to help me with my strategy for my actual whole future. Like, It's not just get me to buy life insurance or whatever the thing is. It's like, what am I actually trying to accomplish, and taking the time to get to know me and my business and what I'm looking to do. And as it changes and evolves, we adjust the strategy. So yeah,
absolutely.
That's why you're my girl.
So
what's your background? How did you end up where you are now? The journey from mushroom farming to maybe not that far back, but you know what I mean? Like your journey to doing your own practice.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect question. I've actually done many things in my life that all, looking back, I was born an entrepreneur. This is what I am meant to do, is to have the freedom, right? That's why we sign up for this, and the ability to grow whatever form of empire I choose to, right? And so getting into that driver's seat. But For the last 10 years, I've spent in corporate America, really in the tax industry. So, for the first 5 years of my career in the tax industry, it was an entrepreneurial role, building a team up, but also meeting with clients. And during that time, um, I loved working with taxes because it's this language that is misunderstood, very a lot of information, right? And so to be able to help business owners then navigate tax law was pretty fun, and a great party trick. But it was always retroactive, right? People were kind of, unless they were fearful of something, they were reaching out to me once a year to help file their taxes, and hopefully, they pay the least amount of tax possible, right? And so it was a way of building wealth, but it was net savings and kind of, in my opinion, a fear mentality, right? Everybody wants the IRS off their, what. So I wanted to move from looking out that rear view mirror with my clients and really position ourselves where we can look out the front of the mirror, or the window, excuse me, and start making choices from a place of not fear, but more of empowerment and envisioning our future to get there. So I'm just switching from the rear view to the front view. And then, like you said, just continuing those relationships as our journeys ebb and flow together. That's really what landed me here. And the current, landscape and climate that we're living in, I have a wonderful team that I get to bring in experts, right? And just like for you, Kristen, as we continue on our journey, there's going to be different things that come up, and to be in a network of people that I can go and grab an expert on any topic or anything that sounds like it's going to fit into your plan, that's just such an empowering thing to be able to offer to people as well. So hopefully that answered your question.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that's, I don't know, it's one of my favorite questions still, is what's the journey? Because everyone that I've brought on tends to also be an entrepreneur of some sort. So it's just kind of a fun thing. So no, I like that. Instead of retroactive planning ahead, and that makes sense when you talk about you wanting to help other people dream and stuff too. Like that's a big part of it, is the future stuff. Because that's one of my favorite things too, is the big picture. What's your big dream? How do we get you there? There's a million steps. You can do whatever the hell you want. Like you literally can do it. It's just how do we get there, and figuring it out. So
yeah. And Kristen, I don't think sometimes we spend enough time in the what do we want phase, or what I would call the woo, right? Like just sitting with yourself, like starting to kind of like feel the feels, and that you're going to find the guidance through those conversations with yourself. And if you're lucky enough to be like you and I, perhaps you can have a conversation with someone that helps you to keep pulling it out, because that was really, one of the reasons why I went from tax, which my face even turns when I say it, right? It's just got this connotation with it that is negative. So moving from that into this place where I'm looking to help people envision their futures and then get them there. People aren't dreaming in color, right? Like it's very flat. It is very, like if that was the future that I was building for people, we would have the saddest world. And so it's kind of fun that I've realized this, but that's where my prosperity coaching really came in, because I'm finding that sometimes when I'm meeting with people, they don't have that first step. They're starting to tell me things that their parents told them they should do, or society said you should do. And I just don't should on people. And I want people to stop looking at that and start figuring it out, that what their soul is meant to do. And so it's such a privilege to get people to start voicing it and realizing it and stepping into their purpose.
Love it. I got goosebumps. So when and or why does someone need a financial planner? Like when does that come into, or financial expert, we'll say?
Yeah, like financial expert. There are a lot of different terms, and we'll get into to a little high level view of it. But I truly believe that it couldn't be too young. Like I'm going to be working on a children's book, just to give you an idea. But I don't think that it necessarily needs to always, like if we talked about kids, I don't think it needs to be like make, do, and here's how you're going to get, right? Like we're not trying to freak kids out. But in terms of, when do we start needing to do it? It needs to happen a lot sooner than it ever has. I think that our, our educational systems and things could start maybe talking about some wealth management and some things like that. But really, the younger the better. Being able to have confident, comfortable conversations in your family units, I think needs to start happening on a more regular basis. But for individuals, meeting with somebody in your 20s, I think, is really smart. But you got to get with that person who understands your language, who you feel comfortable with having those conversations, and just someone who helps answer your questions and calm your nerves, if that's the case, because I think there's a lot of fear just coming into a meeting like that. But I believe everybody needs a plan. We don't go from South Dakota to Washington without a map, right? Like, we're going to have to know what roads that we're going to want to take to get to see each other and meet that destination. I think it's the same when we talk about what's the life we want to live. That money, the prosperity, the wealth is our tool to ensure that we have that life that we desire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. I wish I'd learned so many lessons that I've learned the hard way when I was like 21 and bought a ridiculously overpriced house in Bend, Oregon, promptly before a financial crash. Then just the stupid, I'm just like, man, it just blows my mind. I'm like, if I had had a healthier relationship with money, because I wasn't raised that way. So we didn't have money, we didn't talk about it. And now it's like, I've had to learn a lot of things, and I made a lot of money really young.
Yeah.
Like I've been managing people and businesses since I was 19. So I started making pretty damn good money, especially without having any kind of college degree. And the shit I could have done, like, oh my God. But it's all part of the journey. So, it's fine. But yeah, the earlier, the better. I think it's one of those things too, which is kind of one of my questions at some point. Like, people don't know that they can just have a financial planner to talk to and like build a relationship with and start putting those things together. Like, they think maybe that it's only for rich people.
Yeah.
Or people that are like getting ready to retire, that kind of stuff. So,
or even people who already know the words. I mean, that's
right.
Sometimes the largest barrier I see to helping people is their fear over their ego gets in the way, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what a Roth means compared to a traditional, so I don't want Lizzie to know that, right? Because you feel like I should know that. I don't care, right? Like, why would you know that unless you've been taught it or been a privy to it? And it's certainly not like sexy or romantic to necessarily like research, right? So, but everybody just has like this underlying guilt, I think, about not understanding some of the language and terminology. But I also want your listeners to understand it's never too late to have a conversation with someone. I work with people who are well into the retired years. That, I mean, you go from earning your dollars to now living off of a fixed income, which, even if it's a great one, you still have questions, right? So now it's like, hey, Lizzie, I want to buy a car. How do I buy this car? Well, now let's figure it out. It's a little bit different, right? Like, maybe we want to take a loan on a car if interest rates are low and save our money in the market, right? Like, just our conversations change. But having that partner in the game, I think, is extremely important. And I hope to open up that barrier of entry for people, because I like to work with all of them, all people.
Yeah. And I think some of that too, to your point, it's also that they don't know, and it's such a scary thing to like trust somebody else with your money. And when you're not super comfortable with that space or knowing what all, like you said, the lingo or what the possible impacts are, you have to really trust the person that you're working with too. So I would say, dude, if you got to interview a dozen plus financial plan, that's what I've done until I found you. And I was like, okay, like, I feel like we can have a conversation. I can ask you questions. You can make suggestions. And if I'm not comfortable with something, I can tell you, and I don't feel like I don't have agency. You know what I'm saying? Because like, I think a lot of people get pressured, especially when it is a very sales driven industry and you get somebody that's just trying to smash life insurance down your throat. Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, this is what I'm going to work with somebody who wants to do what's best for me and what I'm comfortable with. So, That's another plug for Lizzie.
I'll just keep it. I'll just sit here.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah, you can just put this on your website.
I think that's an
So
unfortunate thing, Kristen, though, is that there comes off sometimes of this, oh, what would be the word? People think that financial advisors are um, pretentious,
mm, mhm.
unapproachable, out of our league, or whatever. And I'm sure, I think there probably are some of those people walking around. But I think really for the most part, there's some good humans out here that are, yeah, like I want to make a living too. I happen to sell some things. But if I'm not doing the right thing, if I'm not helping someone to live out their desires, then I won't make a dime. Right? It's
Yeah.
you take the money out of it on both sides, and then you just do what's right. You just help someone, and you become someone's partner. And it's
Hmm.
hard to trust someone with your money when you don't trust yourself with your money. And that's where I really, with my coaching, love to find people, because that's what I'm finding a lot as I'm out there is the biggest barrier is people don't trust themselves with their own. Yet we're
Hmm.
spending 80% of our time getting it, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, so much energy is spent getting the money. And then we're like, when we get it, we're like, well, shit, I'm just going to screw it up. Or it's going to be gone before I get it, right? We have all these negative emotions and feelings and actions when it comes to what we're working so many hours for. And so to switch that language, to get people trusting themselves and having the confidence to have a conversation with someone and continue asking questions until it's clear that you have the answer you came for.
Hmm.
And if
Yep.
somebody ain't going to take that call and be nice to you, you call somebody else, like you said.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like there are plenty of financial experts out there. There
Yeah.
is no shortage. So if you don't like the one you talk to a different one. Like it's fine. Um, so what does a financial expert actually do? So what do you really do to help people in your day to day?
Yeah. So, do you want me to kind of talk about a couple different of the terms here? This might be a
Yeah,
good.
let's talk about because the next question is actually what's the difference between financial planner and financial advisor. So,
Perfect. Yeah.
um,
So there's a bunch of terms out there, and I am actually probably not the thesaurus of them all. So I'll just give you a large overview. I'm a financial representative. I work with a team of people that I have financial planners that I have access to. I have financial advisors that I have access to. I have assistant financial advisors that I have access to as well. But as a financial representative, I'm utilizing a whole team of people to ensure that each of the vehicles that we may recommend can be properly represented from an ethical standpoint, a legal standpoint, and then obviously a great culture that we can bring our clients into. So, as a financial representative, I'm still utilizing these team members to get our plan to operate, if that makes sense. You're going to also hear the term of financial advisors. So I actually have a big fancy test that I'm taking next Monday. Once I pass that baby, I'll be able to move into a financial advisor title. I'm still going to be utilizing the team in my own practice, but it gives me a little bit more flexibility in the regulations, if that makes sense. And then
mhm,
you've probably heard of financial planners as well. So a certified financial planner uh, will have a college degree, and then they're going to go through more certifications. So we go through a lot of testing. A good thing is the financial industry is highly regulated to protect our consumers, to protect people from the bad, right?
mhm,
The things we've seen in the movies, right? And so we are all really under some great regulatory standards and ethical boards and things like that. So um, from a broad standpoint, I'm sure there's people who are popping up crap on corners, but I think that's probably obvious to see some of
mhm,
the integrity of those. But for the most part, the more letters behind somebody's name is the more tests that they have taken, and they've worked extremely hard in those things. For myself, for my practice, I'm going to how I see it playing out is getting my financial advisor role. And then I want to work on some different kinds of certifications, more of like psychology based ones and relationship based certifications. And I want to build a team of people behind me that have more of the collegiate titles and things like that, so that we can come into a meeting with a client or prospect and be able to navigate whatever it is that we need to do in that session.
Okay, that makes sense.
Cool.
Yeah, so all licensing related, basically. So the titles are different. I think that was one of the things too. I'm like, is a planner different than an advisor? Like, I don't know what the things are. So
It
I was
is, and
always
it's
worried
hard
about.
because we're always like, I might not have the legality to say that I'm a financial planner or a financial advisor, so I don't use those. I would like to be very careful and respectful for those who have passed these
Yeah,
monstrous exams.
right.
Um, but yeah, it's just a series of education and then suitabilities.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
So when it comes to financial planners, experts, whatever
Yep.
we're calling it, what common misconceptions do you hear from people?
The people that I am blessed enough to get an interview with or have a meeting with, they're kind of the ones who aren't too scared to come in, right? Like they feel like this is an important thing. Maybe they're shooting on themselves to get into the meeting in the first place, right? Maybe mom and dad said something, or you have a friend who did, or whatever it may be. The shoulds got you into the chair. But a misconception is that you have to know it all when you come in, and so to see people be in that non-confident, just like fearful state is it's very challenging. So what I'm working on is breaking through that as quick as possible when we do meet, so that we can get to the heart of it. I do some public speaking and some different national events and things like that, where we talk about just words, so that we can figure out what are the limiting beliefs. How is my relationship with finance now? And so one of the discussions I have with people is really, I'll just say a series of words. So I'll say like save, and I'll ask people what emotion comes up when I say the word save. And so I think this I will land this plane, I promise, Kristen. But what's cool about it is when I say the word save, and then we get feedback. What did you write down? And people are like, some of the words I've heard is like, yeah, right. That'd be nice. Perfect world. Boring. Like, not possible. Like, those are the kind of words that people are living in. Another word that I would say would be spent. And people are like, irresponsible. Someday. Like, all of these just like kind of tragic. And I am a dramatic person, but kind of tragic emotions to have. Bring it back to the 80% of our time spent getting it. And now all of a sudden it's like, yeah, right. And get out of here, And then I would say words like growth. And people are like, yeah, let's do that. I'd like to grow it. Um, Prosperity. People are like, yeah, that's not for me. I mean, there's just, it is I'm a very high vibe, positive person. I believe in the woo and do 100%. And so it's hard when people come in with that low vibe, kind of hopeless um, conversations about money. And that's people who are affluent and people who are really struggling paycheck to paycheck. It doesn't matter how much money they make. Those words that they're saying are the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's doom and gloom. And that's what I want to help people to change. So common misconceptions is that money is the root of all evil. And I hear it from people all the time.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. I
Good.
think we were raised that way in a lot
Yes.
of cases. So, like, it's bad to be well off, or, I mean, yeah, anyway. We could go on a whole side diatribe about that probably. So how does a financial planner get reimbursed?
Yeah, that's a big question because there's many different kind of working parts that go into them. So my advice here, I think the best way to handle that question is, as you are interviewing your financial advisors, go through the process. If you're I think that everyone should see a plan and should know, kind of based on your current situation, where are you going? What is it going to look like if nothing changed in 20 years, right? Being able to see that bird's eye view of your future so that you can make decisions from an empowered place is very, very important. But you need to, like you said, just continue to interview people till you find that right person that makes sense. But when you're interviewing them, ask them how they're compensated, because it could be different between agency and agency, or vehicle and vehicle. For example, you had mentioned life insurance. So life insurance, someone may be paid a commission, a one-time commission. Someone may be paid a one-time commission, and then maybe they get like trailing fees in the years to come.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be just very different depending on where you go. A lot of times, some of the market-based solutions, there's going to be fees, and those fees are going to be different depending on how you get into it or how you're structured with your financial representative or advisor or planner. Those fees could be different. But if you are going to the right place and you are interviewing people, part of the ethics that we have to have as financial advisors, representatives, and whatever you want to call us, is we have to be very transparent with our fees, inside and out. They always have to be favorable to the client. That is the law. So you just got to ask the questions ahead of time so you understand. But we also are required to tell you fees before you are set up into an account. It all has to be disclosed and understood.
Mm-hmm. So essentially, like, I'm not going to be paying you out of my pocket. You're being reimbursed in some way by whatever the vehicle is or whatever it is that you're signing someone up for. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about like getting into the market, it may be a little different. You may have some
Mm-hmm.
upfront costs. It just
Okay.
depends on what it is. But yeah, I mean, that's a hard question just because there's so many different opportunities out there. But I think the most important thing for the listeners to know that you will be disclosed, and if they don't disclose it, then you probably didn't pick the right advisor.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know. So this is probably a million different things too, but just a few different things. If you could tell us what different types of services are available for people to take advantage of, like what are maybe some of the most common things that you get people into? Because I'm sure there's
Yeah.
probably a
So
million.
yeah, I mean, it's a financial plan is really a snowflake. I mean, there isn't going to be one that's the same. And then as soon as we get yours dialed in, all of a sudden, maybe we're getting married, or maybe we have a child, or maybe we inherit some money, right? So it's gonna change. It's a living, breathing document. But holy moly, I think I forgot your question. Like, I think I totally squirreled out.
No, you were on track. What different types of services are available?
Yeah, so that's a really great question, because I think I'm thinking so much about what I do. So I'm going to speak to what I can do for people and my agency, and then maybe I can hit on some others. So for me, it's really just meeting with someone, and then I believe in talking about really the foundational pieces of a financial plan for an individual. Then we talk about growing our assets, and then finally distribution. So those are the three places I live. Are we safe? I want to make a plan that's as bulletproof as possible, right? I want to plan for the good and the bad that's going to come. That's our foundation, is making that really strong basis to your plan. The middle part is, how now do we take our money, make sure that it's working for us in a most tax advantaged, lucrative way. That's our growth. And then the last one is that distribution, which, because I'm a tax lady, I'm kind of geek out about. But really helping people to spend that money in a tax advantaged way, so that we can utilize those dollars longer in life and have it cost us less money. Those are the services that we kind of provide, but I think it can look very different, even in my agency, my peers have a different agency than what I have, right? Or my practice may
Mm-hmm.
be structured a little bit different. It's all a personality kind of play in terms of that. But those are basically the services. You may find some advisors, and my practice may grow into this, where there's fee-based advising or fee-based planning, and that's where literally you would go into a fee-based planner, and you're going to pay a certain dollar amount for them to literally put together everything for you. Um, so that's one thing that people could do. I don't currently do that. When I meet with someone and get their facts from them, and I gather all that and put together the plan, that's a free service. That's the good. I want to just show you what this looks like, and here's what we recommend to get you where you need to go.
Mm-hmm.
So that upfront part of it, the only investment you're making is in your time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. No, it's good to know.
Yeah.
So do you feel like there's a difference between planning for an individual or family versus a business? Or I feel like you mentioned this at the beginning, that's kind of the same. Like we are all like money's
Well,
money.
yeah. I mean, as humans, it's the same, right? Especially as an entrepreneur, our business is our baby. We hear that a lot. I now throw baby showers for businesses. That's really fun, by the way. But yeah, I think as a unit, as a soul, it's really one thing if it's going to work. It's part of whom you are. But in terms of planning, it is going to be different. You're going to have different tax situations and that are going to arise throughout the years. You're also going to have different vehicles in which you can invest in and write off as a business owner in some cases as well, that a personal or family may not have. In a business, we're going to talk about are we going to liquidate this someday? Is the plan to sell this? Do we want to build a business that goes public someday? Like, really, what is the scope or the size, or what is the dream for the overall business, so that we can protect it in ways that it needs to be protected, and we can build a working unit to get your business to where it needs to go so that we can sell it. And then when you sell the business, how do we perhaps reinvest those dollars to get you to be able to use those until the entirety of your life and leave a legacy?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So when someone is considering working with a planner, what do they need to know? How would they know that they're working with someone who knows what they're doing? So we kind of talked a little bit about this, but if I was going to interview people or go find somebody, what do you feel like is important for people to ask the person that they're considering for this support?
I think asking them, to me, it's so personal. And that feels right to me. That feels like if I was going to choose someone, it would be all personal. It would probably be I'm meeting someone over a cup of coffee, right? Or maybe a glass of wine, whatever it may be. Just a very connection based relationship is going to drive me to make my choices. Um, so if you ever get a phone call from someone that does what I do, and they want to bring you out for a cup of coffee, or a happy hour, I would implore you to do that. That tells me that they're interested in you as a human. First and foremost, I think that's a nice gesture. It shows me they're the real deal in some cases. And then you can start to get to know that person. You know, those basic body movements. Are they really engaged in you? Are they taking notes? Are they sincere? You know, how you would pick a friend or a representative. That's essentially what you're doing. You are picking someone to sit at your table that's going to be your dollar person. If we talk to Game of Thrones, what's that called? The Master of Coin.
Yes. Yep.
You're bringing the Master of Coin to your table,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
I
so
like it.
on that personal level, that's going to mean a lot. I think there's so many different places. I like to make sure that someone is talking about the team around them, right? I want to make sure that people know that it's not just Lizzie out here at a desk at night, like scribbling ideas and, oh my God, here's what we can do. I have a really great educated team that works with me. And so I want to build an experience for you as your master of coin. I want you to feel good as we make changes, and know that it's really you choosing and not Lizzie telling or shoulding,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so keeping this that relationship really going, making sure were they on time to your meeting? I don't
Yeah.
think people realize that they are the CEO of their life, right? You are the queen of your kingdom. You're the king of the kingdom, right? Like you make the decisions, but we have been raised and we have been in a society that tells us what to do. And so having your financial representative be your partner in that is going to be the most important. I would always ask about ethics. Just see how they sit in it, right? I mean, this has to be something that you're going to get what you deserve out of it, which is to have a trusted partner that's going to do the right thing, both legally and financially for you.
Mm-hmm. That's a good question because I feel
That
like
is
most people wouldn't ask that question. So when you're like, so tell me what you think about ethics and how do you approach questionable situations, and they're like, uh, that's good. Put somebody on
yeah.
the spot a little bit.
Well, and ask a question too about current events.
Mm-hmm.
That might be. I don't do politics and stuff like that, but like, how do you feel about the unemployment?
Mm-hmm.
Right. What is something that's a burning question to you? Remember who you are. What do you stand for as the CEO of your own life so that as you're interviewing these people, you're building your culture. You're building
Mm-hmm.
that table, right? And so it really just has to fit well. And sometimes word of mouth. That is the best way for me to build my practice is people like Kristen who, what? Our relationship is great. We trust one another. We want each other's businesses to be successful. And so when Kristen tells a friend or family member like, "Hey, Lizzie Stewart," or a podcast of people that Lizzie Stewart's legit, that kind of takes some of that pressure, some of that doubt or fear away. It's a comfortable approach.
Mm-hmm.
I think that can be really helpful, and people need people need a plan. That's not a
Yep.
should. That is like it really feels good.
Mm-hmm. It does. It changes the perspective quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because I am a planner person. Like I like strategy is my superpower.
Yeah.
So I have to have a plan, but the plan can change all the time. Like I really have no problem with pivot, adapting my strategy, any of that kind of stuff. I change all the time on what I'm doing, but I still have like a plan and a strategy. Like where am I trying to get to? And so I didn't have that with money for a long time because I was just like, I don't want to, like, it makes me nervous and
Yep.
don't like talking about it and whatever. I'm embarrassed, like all the
Sure.
things. And so then, but I knew, I'm like, if I have this plan, I will feel a million times better just knowing that there's a plan that can help me get where I want to go. So,
A guide, right? Like
yeah.
it's your own guide. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
If you ignore it, it gets worse. That's how everything is. Like that weird bump on your foot that you're not sure if it's a spider bite. Uh, go to the doctor, okay? Like it will only get worse. But that's how it is, Like if you just ignore it, it doesn't get better. It doesn't matter if it's your finances, your health, your fitness, whatever. Like you got to take care of it. Anyway, that was
No,
random
that
soapbox
is
for you.
I think we could go on a podcast and just
Yeah,
talk
we could
about like
just talk about that. Yeah.
the relationship of money is crucial, and
Mm-hmm.
people don't even we it's just in the last few years you've heard that term of financial relationship or money relationship, whatever it is. And then, okay, so now we know that's a thing. Like people are talking about your relationship with money, but what the hell does that mean? Well, I
Yeah.
bet you that you pay all your bills automatically out of your checking account. When is the last time that you went in there? And then when they come to me for a meeting, they're like, I don't want you to tell me I can't go out for dinner. Right? Like it may be out of balance for them. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's some guilt because I keep going out for dinner and I know I haven't looked at my money and oh, shit, I hope it goes through at the grocery store because I'm not sure. Right? Like
Yep.
that's a real thing. That is not just special to you. That is humans.
Mm-hmm.
And once you can identify that fear and know where it's coming from, now you're empowered to not feel that way at the grocery store anymore. Your financial planner should not tell you not to go out for dinner. If your joy comes from experiences in a restaurant, then we just have to make sure that we make that plan that's going to allow you to go to the restaurant and enjoy your damn ceviche, whatever your jam is.
Yeah, I think it's for me it's like the intentionality of all of it, and I've tried to adjust my life to that over the
Mm-hmm.
last year or two is being intentional about whatever it is that I'm doing. So if I'm spending $1 million on Uber Eats because I just can't get my shit together to go to the grocery store or figure out a plan or just go pick up the food instead of paying extra. You know, like,
Yeah.
am I doing it on purpose because I really want to eat sushi because that's my jam? Like, if I'm gonna splurge, it's usually on sushi.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's like it's a choice. I'm like, I have food, I planned, but I'm choosing to go out and I have a budget for it. And it feels different, and it doesn't feel as gross as when you're like, oh, cool, I'm going to order Uber Eats for the 6th time this week because I'm just too lazy to cook, or I'm stressed out. And lazy's mean. I don't mean it like that, but you know, because it comes from everything else. It's stress or a lack of a plan, or exactly. It's easy. So yeah, I've tried to switch my mindset with that stuff too, just in general over the last
and I like that you said, like, I don't want to say lazy because that's mean. Like, all of those kind of conversations with ourselves are really what's going to make the difference of our businesses being successful, our bank accounts being where they were, and then, or where we want them to be, and then hopefully leaving that legacy for, you know, to make a difference when we're not here anymore. Yeah, these conversations are just, it's what it's all about.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, Mike and I, legit, like we talked about this weekend, we are bougie. We are like, we tell people we're bougie. Bougie is our thing, and we like it. We don't want that to be changed. So how do we do it? Like, we both kind of like impulse buying too, and we don't necessarily like, I don't want to ask him permission, and he doesn't want to ask me permission, but we still have this goal, right? We still have this place we want to get to with our finances, you know, houses and vacations and things. So how can we do this where it doesn't feel like we're asking permission? It still feels like kind of that fun impulse yet guided thing. And we just said, hey, let's have an impulse fund. And let's say that if we wanted to spend more than this amount of money in a month, then that's not an impulse anymore. That's a conversation that we should have together, because it could hold us back in terms of time to getting to X, Y, or Z. So we're going to have an impulse fund. And maybe I just buy cheese. I don't know. But it's cool, right? And then that took like kind of that fear and the avoidance, because we're doing it anyway, out of it. And then what we have done is now our conversation is, hey, am I buying this impulse because I'm looking for a quick little drip of dopamine because I'm trying to cover up something else, right? Like, have you ever just like, I just want to go shopping. I just want to go get something nice. And now you went and you bought this, and it's like you feel this instant like gratification. You feel good for that moment. And then an hour later, you're like, shit, I really didn't want to spend that money. Now I feel guilty. Now I'm like, I don't have that money. Now I should take it back, but I'm not going to because I really liked it. And now you hold on to that money resentment without even realizing that you have. That's now a block, right? Like, that's, you got to deal with that. So now it's having that conversation with ourselves. If I'm going to make an impulse buy, what's it going to do for me? Am I avoiding something else? Am I quickly running to the mall because I want a break from my work? Maybe I should take a walk. It's the same as a diet, dude, and it doesn't have to be bad.
Yeah. It really is. I've talked to a few people actually that have that, like an impulse budget, basically, because everyone's different too. Some people are just naturally more frugal. Some people are more like they like to do the impulse spending. And so, yeah, I've talked to a few people in couples who have that kind of a thing where maybe it's not both of them, but maybe one of them does like to be able to just go do, you know, buy something random or go out to lunch with their friends and not have to feel weird about it or ask permission. So they have the same, there's a budget, and then there's like a single spending amount too, where it's like if it's going to be more than $100 or $200, whatever their, you know, whatever their comfort number is, like, okay, if it's going to be more than this, then I have to be like, hey, or stop and be like, do I really need this pair of boots? You know, like you said, is it going to get me closer to my goal, or am I just really just feeling like I need to spend some money for no good reason? Like, okay, all right, check in. But yeah, to your point, that gives you the having a budget, having a goal, having a plan, and knowing what your why is and what you're trying to accomplish helps you make those better choices, which I feel like you said, it's like a diet or any kind of health and fitness. It doesn't matter what it is. Because I do that a lot with health and fitness stuff. I'm like, okay, so would I rather sleep in, or am I actually going to feel better if I just get my ass out of bed and go? I'm going to feel better. So I'm going to get out of bed because I'm trying to reach a goal. I want to live a healthier life. So therefore, I'm going to go to spin class at 6:30 in the morning.
Because I know what it's going to make me feel like in the end.
Yeah, I will not feel good about myself if I don't go. 100%. So
yeah, you're gonna feel worse, and then you're stuck in this trap. It goes back, like, that's why I
yep.
mentioned those three words to me. So when I'm in those situations, in that moment where I'm thinking about, do I really want to buy this, is the example we're doing.
Yeah.
Is this authentically Lizzie? Like, do I really, like, does this match who I am now and who I want to be? Number two, is it helping me be connected, right? Is this a human connection for me, or a connection to my ancestry, whatever? And three, does it bring me joy? Not just in this moment, but am I going to still feel joyful about
Yeah.
this decision tomorrow and a week from now? And if those three things don't match up, then it's probably, I need to just maybe sit on it and think about it. Maybe this isn't the right impulse. Because at the end of the day, I only want to do what feels good.
That's the dream.
That's the dream.
That's what I aspire to. Okay, yeah. So therapy with Kristen and Lizzie, you guys. Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry.
Feel free. We love this stuff. What advice would you give to people when it comes to their financial future as individuals or businesses? Like, how can they prepare themselves? Maybe if you have some tips and tricks that people can use to like get ready or get in the headspace to be like, okay, I can get a financial planner. This is how it's going to happen. Or I want to take control of my finances and my future.
Yeah. Well,
Sorry,
my
that was a
advice
lot.
is, in the show notes, ask for a call from me.
Yeah.
But no, legit is just, hopefully this podcast is empowering you to think about it and think about your relationship with money, and maybe think about how your thoughts and feelings are holding you back from getting to where you need to go. But a tip or trick, if you do use, in the show notes, there will be a little link. I will send you a worksheet that I think is kind of helpful for people. It's called a Prosperity Pop Quiz, and will help you to see how you are talking about money with yourself. And it also does have some suggestions on the backside of it that I would give to anybody. And it just kind of talks about some standard practices that work well for people, like a percentage that maybe you could save. But what I tell people is, when you look at this Prosperity Pop Quiz, what are the emotions and feelings that come up? Were you bored? Were you angry when you were filling it out? Were you like, this is never going to happen? And note that, because that's the shit that you have to work through first. And you just have to pick the right person to help you through that. My biggest word of advice and tip, and this speaks directly to what you would get if you were to work with Lizzie Stewart, is don't dream small. Don't put down what you think you should. Like, legit check in. Like, what is it that you truly desire in this life? That's some of the conversations that Kristen and I love having with each other, and love each other,
Yes, I
is
do.
the travel, right? Travel is so important to you, and you have these aspirations to live in these beautiful sunny places, and you can describe your perfect life with color. And so that helps to stay committed, and it helps to open up the conversations and the vibrations to get it to happen, right? And so don't dream too small, because small will always happen. And then when you are dying, because, I do talk about life insurance some, when you're on your deathbed, you're going to look back and say, you know what? I wish I would have taken that trip to Italy. I wish I would have given $10,000 to St. Jude's. I always wanted to do that. I never felt like I could, whatever it may be, right? I don't want to be laying there wishing I had done something. So put it down and then figure out how to get it done. And don't let people tell you can't do things. It's lame.
Oh, amen. Yeah.
Yeah.
You tell me I can't do something, watch me. That's the
Yeah, some
fastest
people use
way.
it as fuel.
Yeah, that's the fastest way that I'm gonna get some shit done, is you tell me I can't do something for whatever reason. Like, okay.
That's cute.
But yeah, no, I think, yeah, oh, buddy. I will find a way just to prove you wrong. So yeah, no, it's important. People sell themselves short all the time, and we have one fucking life. I'm going to use the F word in this situation. I know.
It just got hot.
It's my first F bomb on this podcast.
I'm honored.
But yeah, bless you. I mean, if anyone, it'd be you. But
yeah,
you have one life. Like, it doesn't matter. We all die. Like, the whole point, in my opinion, is to live the best damn life you possibly can. And if you keep selling yourself short and doing what the world thinks you should do or tells you should do, or people who are afraid because they've never done anything crazy or brave, you're going to be sad. And like my biggest fear is getting to my deathbed and regretting stuff. Like I 100% refuse to live a life with regrets. I'll do whatever. I've done some crazy things, just like you said. Like I've got some crazy stories. I've done some wild things. Starting a business is one of them. And have those conversations with your partner. Like if you're in a relationship and you have a partner, kids, whatever it is, you have to have those conversations with each other, because there's nothing worse than like living a life that you feel like you're missing out on something because you can't have the conversation with that person who's supposed to be your partner in life. So having a financial planner, expert, master of coin, which we should have been using the whole time, by the way.
That's happening.
Yeah, we're the master of coin. Like they're supposed to be your person. Just have the conversation and be like, we do want to have a condo in Hawaii. That sounds insane because real estate is super expensive, but like you can do it. You just have to figure out what it's worth to you and what are you willing to put in.
What's the do
to get there? Yeah, what's the do? It makes me so sad when I tell people some of the things I've done, like the travel and all that kind of stuff. Like, man, I wish I could. I'm like, bro, you can. Like, you can do straight up. If you have kids, you can still travel. Like, you can. How cool would that be for your kids to have gone to Mexico before they're 5 instead of waiting till they're 30, which is what I did. Like, get out there and do some shit, yo. Anyway. Yeah. Oh my God, we could have a whole podcast of just
like you've inspired me.
Soapboxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the most important part of a financial plan. It's knowing what the hell life you want and realizing that, yes, society has told you that this is what life is supposed to be. In fact, this is what the American dream is, right? Like the 1.5 kids with the corner lot and the picket fence. Like, yep, that's what we've been fed. Yeah. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That's some people's dream and it's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Some people's dream is like, I met the best guy. We went clothes shopping yesterday for Mike, and this guy loved his job so much. I'm like, you are the best person I've ever met that sells pants. Like this guy talked about gussets. Like it was amazing. Beautiful. Like, but that's that guy's gig, right? Like that's what makes him passionate, and we need you.
Yeah.
We need you on this earth to do this so beautifully. And so it doesn't have to be about having your dream house in Hawaii. Like that, I want people to really understand that too. Just because I say don't dream small doesn't mean that it has to be not you. It's still authentic.
Yeah. If that's what you want, if you want a beautiful home, maybe you just want a custom home somewhere and you just want to have your kids.
Maybe you want to go live off the land in Alaska.
Yeah.
And you want nothing.
Who want to do that. Yeah. I know people who
right? You want no earthly possessions, but how do you, maybe you want some questions answered about protecting that.
Yeah. Like what happens if you need to go to the doctor at some point,
right.
Because you didn't go to the doctor about your bug bite on your foot. Full circle.
Nice way to ring that up.
So bring that back around.
Dang.
But yeah, no, I think whatever your dream is, like do what makes your soul happy and have a conversation. I think it's, because you're going to die, man. Like, you're
the only thing we know.
Point. Yeah. Like, anyway.
We were put on this earth to be happy, my friend. That is all I know. And if you're not happy right now and you're not, then let's make it so.
Mm-hmm. And you have inside of you the power to control anything that you want. It lives inside you. Like you said, you're the CEO of your own life. You can change whatever circumstances you're in, whether it's your own mindset that you need to change or the situation that you're in, a job that you hate because it's just not serving you or it doesn't fit what your passion is or what you're good at. Like you have the power to live the life you want. So
absolutely.
Well, we kind of went off on this already, but do you have any specific advice that you would give fellow business owners when it comes to running their businesses as an entrepreneur yourself?
I'm going to get, if there's hate mail, it goes to Christian at, no. What advice would I give to business owners? Literally, just like stop dreaming, thinking so small. I mean, it really goes back to that, and just continue to tap in. And because we're dreaming big doesn't mean that, I mean, there's people who are jumping, right? Like they're brave. They leave corporate America because they want to, because we still need people in corporate America. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Yep.
But somebody decides to become an entrepreneur, and then it's like, okay, I did this. And then we're still living like we're in the corporate world. We're still working 85 hours a week. We're still scared to hire anybody because we're scared the money's not going to be there. And we're not leveraging our resources. We're just continuing the same life. So my advice is to do less. Live more in that woo. Give your time, yourself, and your soul more time to listen to what it is your business needs to be successful, what it is that you were put here to put out into the earth. What is your message? What is your purpose? You will work less hours and you will make more money if that is where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
It's just focus on your happiness. And if 85 hours a week makes you happy, then do that.
Yeah. Oh, man. It does not make me happy anymore.
Nope.
I can tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also worked hard to not do that anymore. So,
Mm-hmm.
what resources do you wish you'd known about or taken advantage of at the beginning of your entrepreneur journey?
Okay, yeah, that was pretty easy. Coaching.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
I am in love with coaching, and I have two. Oh, I have three. Like, I just think that having these people at your table and investing in yourself, we always think investing in ourselves is like formal education. And we think we go right to like student loans and I'm going to go back to college. Like, no, what if you just invested in a program? What
Mm-hmm.
if you invested in a mastermind, right, where you're surrounded with like-minded individuals who are also trying to reach a certain goal? I think the most important thing to business is carving out the time for your self-development, um, and investing in partners and people to help at your table.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I like that.
Mhm.
So, tell us how we can best support you. What are you working on? Can we help spread the word for you about anything?
Oh, I love that question.
It's a
Yeah, so I mean,
small
a
but
couple
mighty
things.
army.
I obviously love to talk to people about what it is they want in their futures and help them make a plan. So there's two sides of Lizzie, but they both live in the same. The woo side of Lizzie's business is Lizzie Worldwide, where I'm taking women from around the world through a project of mine that I call the Queening, and it's really just really the first month is us coming together and visualizing and really getting solid and clear on what it is we do want in our futures. And then the second month we talk about building our table. Who's going to be in our kingdom? Um, and really all around communication and relationships is that second month. And then our third month is fully stepping into our power. This is a real feminine project and program, but stepping into our femininity and our CEOism and becoming those queens that we really are. It's going to be absolutely beautiful. My first seminar or session starts in May, and we will conclude in June at a retreat at a lovely spa. So I would love to spread the word. I am holding space for the queens to come in, and I think it's going to be just absolutely beautiful. So that you can find at Lizzie Worldwide on Facebook. You can private message me if you'd like to hear more about maybe that being for you, or maybe you are like, hey, I want to get right to the do, and then we can have a do meeting too, and we'll go right into the financial or prosperity coaching.
I like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, people can find you. Oh, you said on Facebook is the best way.
Yeah, right now is the
Okay.
best way. It's just Lizzie Worldwide. I'm working on all the other platforms. It'll happen. But yep, Lizzie Worldwide. Like the song. Go there. There's some videos you can watch. But if you just want to private message me, that'll be the fastest way to get you on my calendar. And then the link in the show notes gets you onto my mailing list as well. So
Okay.
you can get that prosperity pop quiz.
Sounds good. Well, thank you for hanging out with me. I appreciate it. It's always a pleasure talking to you and, soapboxing a little bit.
Yeah, it's the
But
fun.
I feel like the message needs to get out there more. So, dream big. Okay.
Thank you.
And yeah, I'll talk to you soon.
You too. Thanks so much. This was a blast.
Good. Okay. Talk to you soon.